everybody. My name is Joe Furbee, and I'm a developer advocate at SAS. And it's not SAS, Software as a Service, it's 1A. And I'll talk a little bit more about our company in a minute. But what I want to talk about today is our new developer portal. And we actually did a soft launch last week, and we haven't shut the old site down yet, so there is a current developer.sas.com. If you go there, you're going to get the old site. So put an S at the end of developer, and we're going to run it under developers.sas.com until we can get all the redirects, so we don't break links and documentation and things like that. So they'll live simultaneously for a month or two until we can get all that covered. But a little bit about me. I spent 2 years in the Peace Corps in Gabon, Africa, and I actually had hair, so I wanted to present that. When I got done in the Peace Corps, I got my master's in education. My undergrad was in statistics, so it was just a little different. And then I taught high school computer applications in Philadelphia for 2 years, and I did computer applications because I knew how to do a spreadsheet, and nobody else did. So I didn't teach math there, but then I realized how much teachers don't make. So I moved into the tech industry and worked at IBM for 18 years, mostly as a software tester. And then 6 years ago, I moved over to SAS. So what are we going to talk about today? Well, first thing, what is a developer portal? Well, I don't have to explain that to anybody in here. I did the same or a very similar presentation to our marketing department. And you do have to explain that to them. So I'm going to speed through that section. And then I'm going to talk about the team that we put together, that we assembled, and the tools that we used, the technologies we used to build the site. Not only we built this site, for our external customers so that they could learn how to use our APIs, but it came with a lot of internal benefits as well, and we'll talk about that. And then I'll do a demo of what we actually built, what it looks like. I also want to cover some challenges and risks. What did we run into? What were we expecting? And also how we resolved those things. And then some calls to action, and I believe the Q&A is after the third session, so we'll cover that then. So what is a portal? Well, here are some definitions. Again, they all say the same thing, just different words. Tell users or developers how to use your APIs and SDKs. What are the key components? Well, you have to have a landing page or a home page, and from that page you get these things called onboarding pages, which is your API doc, it's your triad environment, it's your use cases and examples, and FAQs and forums. Where can people go to ask questions and discuss your APIs? And then SDKs, so you can let people know what your SDKs do, what SDKs you have. And then I'd say other resources, which is that's going to be company or industry specific, and it's not going to be the same for everybody. So who is this persona that we're creating these for? Well, you guys, developers. In other words, people with laptop stickers. I call them the cool kids, or people who code in hoodies. You'll notice I have a lot of stickers on my laptops, but my kids would be the first to say, Dad's not cool. So I'm the exception to that rule. But our company specifically works with AI and analytics. And so we also cater to and need to have APIs for the data scientists, the business analysts, the administrators, and professors and students. In other words, everybody who uses our software, not just people with SAS tattoos. And that is actually a customer of ours who got a SAS tattoo. She's pretty intense. So the team and the tools. Well, first I want to talk just 2 seconds about SAS Institute. This is not marketing. I just want to let you know who we are so that you can get a better idea of what our APIs do. And I have a couple pictures from campus here. If you ever come to SAS campus, you have to it's tradition to get a picture in front of our Pi sculpture, which is 16 feet tall. We are an AI and analytics software company based in Cary, North Carolina, founded in 1976 by Dr. Jim Goodnight and John Saul. It's annually regarded as one of the best places to work in the world. And this is a quote from Dr. Goodnight. He says, 95% of my assets drive out the gate every evening. It's my job to maintain a work environment that keeps those people coming back every morning. And he speaks truth. We have things like our own healthcare center on campus. We have several gyms, a pool, instructor-led classes at noon. There's a salon there as well, which I have never been to. We have about 12,000 people globally, and we have multiple offerings. The latest one, which is cloud native. Well, how do our users use APIs? Well, we have thousands of customer sites doing millions of things, so it's hard to figure out exactly what each one of them is doing. But one great indication of how users can use our APIs is during our hackathon, which runs for about a month. And this year it's in the fall. And I just wanted to highlight a couple projects just so you can kind of see what someone was able to do within a month. We had using APIs. We had a student-led group that created an app to make financial investments that align with their goals and values. And also there was a massive earthquake in Turkey last year. So we had a Turkish team that created an app, and what it did is it scoured social media and news resources during a disaster or just after a disaster, and then could work with insurance companies to get their customers' information. So what team did we put together? Who did this take? Well, it started out with our API architect, who replaced Dave, and so I came on just after that. And we built a team we quickly realized that we need to do something else with our APIs. You know, we're not servicing our customers properly. So we worked with management. We presented to executives and convinced them that this is what we needed to do. So we built a team, and it included various managers, lots of engineers, and we didn't want to forget about security, design, documentation. So what tools did we use then to build this? Well, it's a React app, and we use Next.js, and that really helped us with our speed of the site as well as our SEO, which we are very conscious of. We put it out on Azure using Application Gateway, GitHub, Actions, and we created a CMS. And this is the most important part of this slide, is we work very closely with our design team. We have an in-house developed design system, and which we use for our GUIs. So why not give the user at least a very similar experience to what they're going to get in the GUI when they're on your developer site. And what we would do is how it worked is we would come up with an idea and kind of just present that to the design team. They would come up with a blueprint that our developers could follow. So it worked very nicely. Please don't read all the words on this page. It's an eye chart, and I'm just going to go through it quickly. This is the architecture of the system that we built. So a user is going to make a request, and then we're going to go out to our CMS, and we're going to go out to the Azure API management, and we're going to get all the resources we need to build the page, and we're going to collect them here, and then we're going to render them here in this middle box. And the important part of this middle box is this is where we render the page as well as where we cache it. So if a user makes a request, we can build the page, and then we're going to cache it. So the next user that comes and wants that same page, we don't have to go back down to the CMS and then back up to the Azure API management. We can simply just re-render the page. So internal considerations. What did we gain? What benefits did we gain internally? Well, when we first started this project, all of our APIs were based on Swagger 2.0. Then we had to throw a whole bunch of custom code on top of it, and then we built it with HTML and used some CSS. And that was a true Frankenstein of a website for documentation. And it was functional, but it was slow to build, it experienced performance issues, and it was laborious to maintain. So we realized that we had to do something. Well, we completely redid how we built and maintained our APIs. We hired a couple of DevOps engineers, and they created our pipeline, which is up here. Again, you don't have to read everything. How the process works is developers will turn in their code. We grab some rules. We have a series of Jenkins and Garrett jobs, and we throw everything into GitLab, and then through various actions, we do verification and linting. We create reports. We generate our documents. And then that continues through the pipeline to the dev portal. So that's where we're grabbing that API information. So what did that buy us? Well, we moved everyone up to Open API 3 standards. That was a mandate that we had. We built the pipeline. And then we also put in some specifications and rules that developers needed to follow in terms of how they created their APIs. So they were using the same tooling across various product teams. And what that did was it made things more consistent. And it allowed us to track change and version things. And we could automate, finally. We also replaced our internal doc site, which was another Frankenstein. And it had the same problems as our external API documentation did. So we were able to replace that, and it's now all under one umbrella. And it's built using a new automated pipeline, and I like to call this the sexy or cool Frankenstein, which really isn't a Frankenstein anymore, but it kind of closes out the analogy. So what did we produce? What did we come up with? Well, a lot of the same things that I went over on what makes a developer portal. We have our API documentation. We went out to and got API and developer-related use cases. Those came from blog posts, community articles, webinars, trainings, tutorials. We also, our company works a lot with people who don't code in our language. So we have a lot of Python programmers, a lot of R programmers who need to interface with our software and build applications on top of it. So we put in a section for how to do that open source integration. Again, SAS is a programming language, so we have a section for our SAS programmers. We have a place for SDKs, so all those SDKs you build with LibLab can go right there. And then we have this is kind of a sandbox. It's technologies and solutions. It's things that don't belong anywhere else, but are developer related, and we want to be able to have a place so that we can put those in. And then, as I said, we need a place for FAQs and forums, and we can do that through the developers community. So we made sure to highlight that on the new site. And we also have a GitHub presence, so we put links to our GitHub repository. And then various support things. You know, where can I get trainings or trials or support documentation? And now I'm going to go into a quick demo and just show you the site itself. So here is our developer portal. We start out on the overview page, and you can see that the APIs that we have for our software are front and center. They're right here at the top. And along the very top in the header, we have various menus here, and those are just going to take you to places that you can find further on down the overview page. It's going to take you to a specific onboarding page. We have a place for support, so this is going to take you to documentation, the SAS support home. You can also do a search. You know, if you were looking for a particular API, you could search for it here. We do have the ability to sign in, so if I log in here, we can distinguish that I'm a SAS employee, and now I have a lot more APIs, both the internal and the external ones. So now I can choose by category which APIs I want to see, or I can go to all APIs here, and I see the categories over here on the left-hand side. So this is going to list all of the APIs. I can choose here, you know, visualization and reports, and I can go into the API itself, look at the various endpoints that I have. Once I go into the details here, we give you a request sample. So here's how you would write a curl command that's going to make this API call. We have about a dozen different languages you can change to, and what's nice here is if I choose Python, when I go to subsequent other APIs, it's going to remember that I chose Python, and it will display the Python code by default. I can copy here the call and paste it right in, or import it right into Postman or another client to make that call. We also give you the response sample and then the various schema elements to define the different fields. Moving back to the overview page, as I mentioned, we have use cases. Here we've gone out and found all of these use cases that are developer and API related. You can filter by category. So I'm I'm interested in decisioning, and I'm a Python programmer. We also have languages here, and you can see that it brings back a list of just things that are decisioning and Python related. Moving further down, I mentioned we
integrate with a lot of open source languages, mainly Python and R. So going into these pages, it's going to give you packages and tools that you can use to integrate our software with open source. We also have a section for SAS programming. So if you're a SAS coder, you can find resources there that you can use. Moving further down, SDKs. So this is just going to list the various SDKs that we have. And finally, you can go to the developers community where you can ask questions, start a discussion, browse library articles. And finally, we have a link to our GitHub. So that's a very quick 2 minutes on our site. As I said, we are going to be adding to the site as we move forward. So check back, see what new things that we've put out there.
Okay. Now I want to talk about the risk recommendations, challenges that we faced. Some of them we knew we were going to face. Some of them were surprises. So the first thing is decentralization of priorities. This is dealing with the quality of our API documentation. And we were writing exceptions for warnings instead of just fixing the warnings. So to fix that, we needed to finish our OpenAPI 3 migration, as well as fixing the warnings, not just writing exceptions for them. And we also needed to put some gates around our APIs. Secure hosting and best practices. This is a big one. We were kind of the first group in our organization or in our company to do this, to kind of veer off of the normal .sas.com pages. Thank you. So there was no blueprint on what to do, what technologies to choose, how to do this. So what we are recommending to our executives is to create a dedicated team to this. We're going to have more software as a service offerings, which aren't the same thing as a developer portal, but there are a lot of the same components. And right now they're all developing in silos. They're each doing their own thing. So what we are recommending is we have one standard. We create a group that creates that standard based on solid technology. They can define the criteria, they can define the framework, and then they can also offer support to us. Speaking of support, operations and support. Since we built this site, our team kind of owns it now. And we're not tech support. That's not, we want to continue building new things for our developer portal, not, answering IT questions. So we need to work with tech support. We need to work with IT to implement, on-call operations. Currently we're just doing community support with best effort SLAs. We want to formalize that and implement automatic notifications. And the last section here is build IPs built the right way. I've heard this week a lot, you got to treat APIs as products. And for too long, we have been doing it from the development side of things, and we've been developer-led. It's not good enough for someone to give the developer a requirement and say, go build it. A lot of the developers don't know exactly what the software does. They're just going to try to build off the specification. The product team knows what our software does, so they need to work together and do this in an API-first manner. We also have a lot of requests for our internal APIs and for utilization of those. And then if the customer figures out how to use them, then they complain that they're too difficult to use. So what we need to do is we really need to differ how we develop and how we handle our public and private APIs. And we need to put technical barriers around those private APIs. So calls to action, where do we go from here? I'll just quickly go through this. We did a soft release last week of the site, but we have a lot more to do. The first thing we want to do is a try it. We just weren't able to implement that in time to get this done, but we thought it's a much better product than it was currently, so we decided to go ahead and implement it. And you can read through here the other things that we want to do. Contact me with any more questions. And we want to make high standards for high API quality normal. Sometimes doing the right thing is hard, but we need to make that the standard and we need to make that normal. We need to corral the hosting, ops, and support strategies, and we need to celebrate. This was a year and a half in the making, probably longer than that, but we're very proud of the site that we created. Thank you.